Why is crypto crashing? Why is Bitcoin down? Why is China shutting down mining? Will crypto recover? These are all questions that I'll answer in this video. Hi friends, I'm John, and welcome to my brand new channel where I cover topics on building wealth, personal finance, investing, and business. But not Dogecoin, because Dogecoin is absolute shocking times in the crypto world, or not so shocking, depending on what camp you're in. One thing's for sure though, Bitcoin is down and crypto in general is also way down. And you may be wondering why that is. So for starters, if you're not aware, China has been making the rounds in the financial news space. And the reason is because of their enforcement of banning cryptocurrency mining operations. See, in the past, China has created policies that ban their citizens from trading cryptocurrency and from launching or even investing in any initial coin offerings. But they've allowed their citizens to hold crypto. And for some time, authorities hadn't enforced a ban on actually mining Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency for that matter. That is up until recently, because China has now started enforcing their policies against mining crypto. Now, if you float around the crypto communities online, you'll see that the speculated reasons for this are as far and wide as you can possibly imagine. From wanting to maintain a tight grip over their country and its citizens and the country's monetary system, to kicking out miners due to energy production issues and concerns, and possibly even electrical grid blackouts in some areas, similar to what Iran had been experiencing before they put a temporary ban on mining cryptocurrencies themselves back in May. There has been some talk about how the miners in China are simply using too much of their own non-renewable energy, especially in provinces where electricity is made through burning coal, which obviously is not ideal. So that's one thing that's happening with Bitcoin. Add to that right now that you have a lot of talking heads and financial pundits on TV jumping on the negative news cycle bandwagon, which further spreads concern. And frankly, when these people like Jim Cramer from CNBC, for example, start talking about how they're confused as to why Bitcoin would drop in value so hard when miners stop mining it, rather than go up in value, since it would theoretically, as he imagines, create less supply and in turn more demand. To me, it just kind of shows how more traditional or older investors either one, are just not as excited about seeing longer term into the future like some younger investors might be, or two, they just don't understand how crypto works on a technical level, or to the extent where they understand the functions of mining when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. And to that point, how China has accounted for over half of Bitcoin's hash rate, and how as a result, miners in China have bags of Bitcoin stored away. And that's fine. There are always going to be, naysayers and doubters and talking heads pushing the narratives given to them by their producers. And there will be genuine non-believers who, don't ever see the established financial system ever failing or even being revolutionized by digital currency. But it would behoove them, and you as well, to understand how the system works from even just a basic level, because when you do, you develop better tolerance thresholds for when corrections or dips or crashes or even bear markets kick in. So what I'm going to do is explain a bit about how mining works, what a hash rate is, how it plays into price fluctuations, and all that good stuff, so that you have at least some insight into how it works and how it relates to the overall big picture. So Bitcoin itself, the cryptocurrency, is a byproduct, a reward for solving complex mathematical algorithms. These algorithms are hard to solve, and they are essentially what ultimately produces the information needed to complete a transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, a blockchain is simply a distributed database, and the nodes or computers that make up this database have access to the entire chain. But no single computer regulates the information that the blockchain contains. So what you end up with is a decentralized chain architecture where no single point of failure could ever bring down the database. So here's a scenario to help break it down in a way that's easier to understand. Going back to these complex algorithms, let's say you and I wanted to complete a transaction on the blockchain, and say I wanted to make you rich and send you a few Bitcoin. The information about our transaction, like where the coin should end up, your Bitcoin wallet, gets put into what is called a block. And that block is then protected by these complex algorithms known as a secure hash algorithm. And these hash algorithms are by nature very hard to figure out and require an enormous amount of computational power and hardware resources, also known as mining rigs. But once the hash algorithm is solved, this is considered a proof of work, which validates the transaction and unlocks the block. Now, the computer that solves this is then awarded the block reward, which currently consists of 6.25 Bitcoin. Now back to China. So the collective computational power that is at work on the Bitcoin blockchain, solving these hash algorithms on behalf of hundreds of thousands of transactions every day, is called the hash rate. And miners in China have accounted for about 65% of the entire Bitcoin blockchain hash rate. That is until now. See, China, for whatever reason, has banned their citizens from operating mining rigs and are now fully enforcing this policy. And this in and of itself creates a ton of FUD, which stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which triggers sell-offs of Bitcoin. Add to the fact that it would be perfectly reasonable to expect most of the miners in China to sell off a lot of their Bitcoin holdings because, understandably, they're likely scared of losing all of those Bitcoin to confiscation by the Chinese government. So when you combine the market fear and the uncertainty and the doubt, along with more selling volume than buying volume, the price of Bitcoin, of course, drops. When the price drops and hits certain levels, it in turn triggers stop losses, which are trigger points that people set within their trading accounts that say, if Bitcoin falls to X price, then sell my Bitcoin. And this is in an effort to stop their losses. And then this, of course, leads to what is called a market sell-off. When you have enough of those, that drives the price down even further. And all of this, along with some other things like rumors of certain first world countries banning Bitcoin, is why you are seeing Bitcoin prices dropping. And since the price of Bitcoin affects the price of other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and other altcoins, there's a big drop across the entire crypto market. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, the question becomes, will Bitcoin go back up in value? In order to create an informed and educated guess, because that's all we really can do, nobody knows with absolute certainty what will happen, we should consider the fundamentals of Bitcoin. So some of the notable things that stand out to me personally are that there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin created. That's right. Right now, as of this video recording, there are already 18.7 million Bitcoin in existence, and it is said that roughly 4 million have been lost forever. And in addition to that, researchers and analysts have determined that there will only ever be about 14 to 15 million Bitcoin available because of what has been and what will be eventually lost forever. And that's interesting and likely true because on top of what has already been lost right now, about 900 Bitcoin are created every day. And it's estimated that around 1,500 Bitcoin are lost every day due to things like lost wallet keys, people accidentally throwing away their hardware that contained their Bitcoin, or owners of Bitcoin passing away without making arrangements for their heirs to access their coins. So in other words, right now, the available supply of Bitcoin is shrinking, not expanding. So if there will ever only be an estimated 14 to 15 million Bitcoin, well, then we run into the fundamental economics principle of supply and demand. And barring any massive disaster, like the complete destruction of the internet as we know it, demand for Bitcoin will only go up from here over time. And countries across the globe are starting to accept it into their financial infrastructure. Institutional investors are already in it. More hedge funds are starting to put it into their portfolios. Major corporations like Visa and MasterCard and PayPal are adopting it. And add all that to the fact that there are over 51 million millionaires in the world, and there will only ever be around 14 to 15 million Bitcoin, not even enough for half of the millionaires alive to own one Bitcoin each. All of these facts lead us to what I feel is a rather reasonable assumption when asking the question, will Bitcoin go back up in value. And it is my opinion that it eventually will return to its all-time high and way beyond, even if it crashes in the short term. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't come without risks. It does. And, you know, it's a very volatile asset that unfortunately can be and is manipulated. But I think it's bigger than any one person or group of people or any country or even group of institutions. And so I do think it will go back up eventually. And so do, you know, many investors and money managers and billionaires, with estimates from a couple $100,000 per Bitcoin to $500,000 per Bitcoin to even $5 million per Bitcoin. As Warren Buffett says, very ironically in this situation, by the way, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And I, for one, would argue that there is a lot of fear happening in the market right now. And with that, you could probably guess the moves that I'm making. So what about you? Are you diamond handsing it and hodling through all the ups and the downs? I'm curious to know what you think is going to happen to the price in these next few months. So drop a comment, let me know. I'll be curious to read all of your thoughts. And if you're not already subscribed, definitely give that subscribe button a little tappy tap, and that way you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And if you'd like to help me out, please hit that like button. And of course, be sure to ring the little bell icon so that you're notified as soon as new videos are released. I hope this has been valuable for you. Much more to come. Stay tuned. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.